Hello again, and welcome to Clear Skies Retirement with Jay Kirkwood at Secure Financial Management. My name is Randy Cook, here each week with Jay as we talk through some of the feelings and some of the scaredness and some of the craziness that is retirement planning. You know, it's out there. You see some of your friends retire and you wonder how this is all going to go for you. Well, let's talk through that. And if you need a little help, that's why we're introducing you to Jay. Jay, how are you doing today?
Doing great, Randy. We're back at it.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. And there's a lot of people out there that are listening to us right now that I think are in this category, and that is, I'm just gonna wait. Because they look around right now and the headlines are, I mean, politically, we've got midterms coming up. We've got all this going on. We've got the inflation going up. And then there's the market. And it's really sky high. And people are saying, oh, recession is on the way. So everybody has just kind of put on the brakes and said, you know what? It's kind of like that movie where they say, you know, something really terrible happens. And then down at the bottom of the screen it says, 2 years later. And then they pick up the story from there. And so what we want to do is 2 years later. Let's just pick up the story from there. What is the problem there, Jay? People are obviously scared. And if they're scared, there's a reason for it. That should be addressed. What do you talk to people about if they actually come in and they're just kind of, what do I do, Jay? Where do I go with this? Should we be in limbo? What's that conversation look like?
Yeah, so there's a bit of a name for those people in the industry.
Okay.
Right? It's more of a concept, right? You do the opposite of everything they do and you'll make money. Right? And I'm not trying to, somebody's going to be offended by that for sure, right? But and that's not the intention, but if you want to lose money, be indecisive, right? Don't make a decision. Some people have probably heard the old saying that more is lost to indecision than wrong decisions, right? Okay. And it just is. The world's a scary place, and it was 40 years ago, and it will be 40 years from now, right? There's always a reason not to do something, right? Like if you go back to the late 70s, the early 80s, it was an oil shock and inflation, and you know that's when the Cold War was on, and then .com. COVID, there's all and look, we have people do this as well. Like we had one of the advisors was kind of updating me on everything that's going on. They said, hey, you know, this guy's got whatever it was like $500,000 or something in CDs that he's going to move over, and it's been in CDs for like 15, 20 years, right?
Wow.
And this is why. Well, I just want to wait till the Iran thing blows over. Okay. Well, by the time that blows, midterms. It'll be midterms.
Yeah.
Right? Let's wait and see what happens with that. And it's frustrating for us because we see the result that it has on people's portfolios, right? Yes, invest in a way that's smart. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Have some stability. Have an emergency fund. Have some low risk stuff. Yes, but make a decision. Yeah, I had this is a real life example. I had a lady. It was about 6 months ago. We were doing a review for her, and hey, the markets have been good, right? Her accounts have done well. She's been invested wisely. We've made some good decisions for her, and she was coming in for a review, and she said, you know, she's very happy, obviously, and she said, you know, I've got a friend who for about 5 years I've been trying to get her to come and see you, and she just won't. And I said, okay, I've heard that story before, right? Okay. And I said, why do you want her to come and see us, and why won't she? What's going on? She said, look, since we've talked about investments, right? She said, go back 20 years. All she has ever had is CDs and savings accounts. That's all she's ever done. And she's had $1 million sitting in CDs and savings accounts. And so, you know, you might say now, oh, well, you know, CDs, you can get 3 or 4%. Yeah, for the last couple of years, right, go back before that, and you were getting, 5 basis point, 0.05% on a CD.
Yep.
Whatever that lady has, it should probably be 3 times the size that it is. But there's always, and this is what you said, like, you know, every time she's about to come and see you, something comes up. COVID hits, interest rates, whatever it is. There's always a reason not to do something. And whenever the time comes when you say you'll be ready, I guarantee you there'll be a reason then as well.
There's never going to be a perfect time.
There never is. Of course not.
Yeah.
No.
There never is.
Yeah.
The market's always going to be topsy-turvy. There's always going to be rumors of recessions and crashes and things out there. So to sit down and say, okay, let's actually put the date down on a calendar. I feel that when you put a date down on a calendar sometime, that really helps you follow through. You want to go on a vacation? Book a plane, book a hotel. Yeah. You're committed. Yeah. If you want to sit down and talk about your retirement, let's actually have a conversation. And that doesn't mean it's going to hurt. That just means let's just get it out on the table and let's just talk through your concerns. That's what it is to have a meeting with Jay and the team. Secure Financial Management is at retire210.com. All right, retire210.com. There you can put a little information in there and the team reaches out to you. Or you can just do this, call 210-985-6200. What is that? That's a meeting to talk about your concerns and situation. This is what I've saved. This is what I want to do in retirement. Here's my monthly bills. This is what I'm concerned about. I hate the market, whatever it is that's on your mind. Let's get it out there. 210-985-6200. But, in the past, we've talked about the different aspects of 401ks and things like that. And I bring up target date funds and Jay's face just crunches and he just hates them. And most people do in the financial industry. But Jay, apparently there's not enough people tuning in. We've got to get a bigger audience because
we're going to syndicate.
We're going to have to do something here. Yeah. There are now $4.8 trillion in target date funds, and that is up 20% from last year. So I don't know what the deal is here, but people are going into these left and right. And as I read the article, it says, here's the reason. It's simple.
Of course.
You look at your 401k and it says, target date 2030. I'm going to retire in 2030. I'll put my money there. Simple as pie. The idea is that particular fund gets less and less risky as you get closer to retirement. It sounds like a great idea. It's a great marketing tool, but does it work? And is there a better way? So that's really the question that I want to ask you, Jay.
Well, I think this is indicative. So we'll circle back to that in just a second, but I think this is indicative of how the 401k industry is structured. If your money's in a 401k, guess what? You are the financial advisor. Yeah. You are your own financial advisor, right? And if you hadn't said it, I was going to say it. The reason it keeps happening is twofold. If you have no one to help you with it, which you don't, like if you call the 401k company, right? And they'll kind of dance around, well, this is this and this is, well, and then eventually if you keep pushing them, they're like, well, we can't really give a recommendation, right? You've got to kind of like figure it out for yourself. So there's no help there. And then you're on your own. You, at this point, have hired yourself as your financial advisor. And you look at all these options and you see international and emerging markets and value and S&P. And you're like, I don't know what any of that means. I don't know if that's risky, if I can make money there. Is it growth? Do I have any protection? What's the worst that could happen? And then you say, hey, I'm 50. I want to retire in 10 years. There's something that says target 2035. I'm targeting 2035. Let's go there. That must be the one that's built right for me. And do you know where these all blew up and when the discussion really started about target funds?
When's that?
2022.
Okay.
All right. Because in 2022, we went through, so the market was down about 20%, and it was more so than that. There was no hedge from the bond side of it. So when I say hedge, kind of offsetting the risk, right? Typically, that's what happens is, they say, you have some bonds in your portfolio, have some equities, because if equities go down, the bonds will go up. Well, it didn't happen then, right? Because interest rates were going up, it was affecting the economy, bonds were losing value, all that sort of stuff was happening. And then people who were in a target 2025 fund, hey, retirement's right around the corner, and they lost whatever they lost, 10, 15%. And it was arms in the air. How could this have happened? I'm invested in something that's supposed to be very safe. They don't know what's in it, right? They don't really know what the risk is. It's just the assumption that I'm retiring at this date. This must be automatically just shifting and it'll take care of me. Well, it's not. And if you're going to hire yourself as your own financial advisor, more power to you. You better know what you're doing.
One of the things about a target date fund, I mean, the concept is it gets less risky as you get toward retirement. Can a financial advisor like Jay do that for you? Yes, he can. It doesn't have to be like a target date fund within your 401k. And you bring up a great point. I mean, if you go back all the way to 2008 and say, how did a target date fund like a 210 do in 2008? Not that great in many cases. It's kind of shocking to see that a target date fund would be down 15, 18, 20%, but they did. Right. It happened. Right. And so to have your money there is kind of a generic kind of way to use your 401k. That is one thing that you can sit down with Jay and look through. You're still working and you're still contributing to your 401k. Hey, Jay, here's where my money's going. Are there better choices? That's another thing you can sit down and talk to Jay about on your meeting. Give him a call. Give the team a call. Let's have that meeting about what you are concerned about on your 401k, your retirement. Let's get that conversation going. Here's the number and here's the website, 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200 or retire210.com. Retire210.com. There's a place for you to put some information in there, and the team will reach out to you and get a date on a calendar. And also right there, you can see the Get Me to Retirement 5-step process. And let's kind of go through that just a little bit here, because really the first part of this, the introductory meeting, that's what we talk about all the time on the show, is come on in and let's just get your concerns out there. Who are you and what do you want to do in retirement? And we go from there.
That's right. It's every person who walks through the door has a different situation going on. They want to live the retirement that they want to live, right? Not something that's been planned out for them before. Learn about who you are, get a plan together, implement it. And this is the big key, right? And this is where we see things fall apart for people who kind of think they've crossed the finish line, right? You put a financial plan together for someone who's 60, it's very likely this is a 20, 30-year runway, right? That we've got to make. Well, guess what? I can guarantee you things are going to come up in that 20, 30 years that were not planned for when everything started. It's monitoring that plan, staying on top of it, and pivoting and adjusting as things unfold. Setting something up. And we have people all the time that come to us and like, hey, I haven't had a meeting with my guy in like 5 years, and we put this plan together, and they bring it off and we blow the dust off the plan because no one's looked at it in 5 years. And guess what? Things haven't gone exactly as planned, and there haven't been pivots made. There hasn't been a tax strategy implemented. Going through this 20, 30-year process, month by month, year by year, that's the only way you're going to be successful. Well,
go to the website, which is retire210.com. Find out more about Jay and the team at Secure Financial Management. It's time to talk about your retirement. And at no cost or no obligation, let's just have the meeting and get your concerns out there and see what comes out of that. Let's if there's some gaps in there, if there's things that you haven't thought about, maybe it's just things like legal documents and things like that, wills and trusts that you haven't even really thought of, and that's an area that you haven't explored yet. Tax strategies that we've talked about, and we're going to talk about more. Maybe all you've thought about is moving your money forward, and that's what we do in our 30s and 40s and 50s. In our 60s, this changes. Give Jay a call, 210-985-6200 or retire210.com. And Jay, when they go to the website, they're going to see your book, Wall Street's Game. And you kind of wrote that for people to kind of give them an idea what they're in for when they get plugged into this whole financial system out there, because there really is. There's a financial system, there's a retirement system, and we kind of go in with blinders on because our whole life we haven't had to deal with this, and all of a sudden we do.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, you often compare it to like, hey, you go to the doctor, or you need some sort of medical treatment. You get plugged into the medical system, and the layers and the complexity that goes on with that. And I think it is fair to say that it's not always in the patient's best interests, right?
Yeah.
And there can often be ulterior motives at play with that. Well, unfortunately, I'm sorry to say, it's the same in our industry, right? It's the same in whether you want to call it the investment world, the retirement world. There's layers and layers of things. It's very opaque. it's very misunderstood by lots of people. And I always say, hey, look, the majority of people who read that book, I'm never going to meet them. Mm-hmm. But if I can pull the curtain back a little bit and try and open their eyes to what's going on, what to be aware of, how to protect themselves to some degree, yeah, I hope I've been able to do that for some people.
So if you come in and have an appointment with the team at Secure Financial Management, we'll give you a copy of that book. You can also see right there on the website. All right. So, Jay, we've talked a lot about taxes, and it's a very, very important topic. It's one that people neglect because in our mind, it's just make that money as much as that nest egg, that account as high as I possibly can. That's my job as I save. And then Uncle Sam comes by and says, hey, where's mine? And that becomes a real issue in retirement. So I think about writing checks to Uncle Sam in April. Every year, got to write that check, Gosh, I wish I could get a refund, but got to write that check. And now I'm going into retirement where I think my income is going to be less. I'm not going to get a check from an employer anymore. Things should be less complicated, so bring on the refund. And I'm looking at this article and it says, not so fast, my friend. You may be stuck because high-income earners may not be able to change that tide in retirement. Yeah. Have you seen that, to go from writing checks to getting refunds, or is that kind of our lot in life here, that we're still going to be writing checks to Uncle Sam?
Yeah, and I know everybody likes to get a refund, and probably it's more the relief of not having a surprise of owing money. But just keep in mind, right? You've given the government an interest-free loan. So if you get a small refund, okay, great. But if you're getting these great, big, huge refunds, you probably need to have a second look at that, right? Because you just made an interest-free loan. And yeah, we talk about taxes a lot on the show. More and more, right, Randy? We're talking about taxes on the show because, we look at this as kind of phase 2 with our businesses. We've helped a lot of people get from work life to retirement. And the vast majority of our clients have done very well. And we can see coming down the road, they're going to have a big tax hit. And we need to become as efficient with managing these tax issues that are coming up. Across the country, $40 trillion about in tax-deferred accounts. So, if you're the government, if you're the IRS, you're rubbing your hands together waiting for all that to come in.
Yeah.
And I think people look at tax management and taxes in the wrong way, because it's kind of like, well, it's just this thing that's out there. And yes, it is. But if you look at it from a retirement plan, it's an expense to your plan. That's the way we look at it, right? It's like these taxes we're going to have to pay. That's an expense to us in retirement. And everyone kind of focuses on health insurance, and I get it, right? That can be an issue. And a lot of people think, health insurance is going to be the biggest expense in my retirement. For a lot of people, it's not that. You know what's going to be the biggest expense in their retirement?
I mean, I think you're going to say taxes, aren't you?
It's going to be taxes, right? And it's probably not realistic to say, I'm not going to pay any taxes. There's going to be something paid to the piper, of course, but we should try and have a plan to be as efficient about this as possible, rather than just blindly going in and every year getting a bill and saying, all right, well, whatever it is, we're just going to pay this money to Uncle Sam. Can we do some pre-planning on that and be more efficient with it? And there's so many things that actually complicate retirement, right? We haven't talked about it in a while, but one of the things that ends up coming to bite people very often, and the first time they know it's happened, is when they get a surcharge notice from Medicare, and it's called IRMA, right? Income-related something adjustment. But basically, it's, if your income in retirement, once you're on Medicare, if your income is over a certain threshold, well, congratulations. Not only do you get to pay the taxes, but Medicare is also going to charge you a surcharge for the premium you pay for Part B. Lots of moving parts, lots of things that can come up and bite you that it's happened before you even realize it.
This is one of the reasons that I think retirement planning and just the idea of retirement is kind of scary. And it's because of all the change. Is because your whole life you've been getting your health care from your employer. Now you're getting this thing called Medicare. Your whole life you've been paid by your employer. Now you're getting paid by Social Security and pensions and annuities and all these different things. And the other part of it is, too, about the taxes, where we started here, is right now taxes to me are what my employer takes out of my check and what I have to do on April 15th. But when I get into retirement, there's capital gains and there's interest and there's some income. And then there's these RMDs. I mean, this whole dynamic switch that I've got to learn all this stuff in retirement, it is kind of scary. It's intimidating, Jay.
Yeah. And look, this is what the truth of it is, right? The more you have, the more complicated it's going to be.
There you go.
If you've just got Social Security coming in, hey, one of the pros of that is it's simple, right? You've just got your Social Security coming in. If you've got, like you mentioned, you've got 1099s from 401ks. Depending on how your investments are structured, you could have some K1s coming in. You've got your annuity distributions. You've got your Social Security. You've got maybe a pension. There's a lot of things going into play. And, you know, what we find interesting is that we have more clients engage the services of a CPA once they retire. While they were working, they're just like, hey, this is easy. Let's go TurboTax, boom, 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 done. Yep. And the first year they retire, they're like, I know what's going on. I got this document. I got this document. I got this document. I've never used a CPA, but I am now. Yep.
It gets more complex, that is for sure.
That's right.
That's why we seek out people like Jay and to sit down and talk about your retirement from all of those aspects. How does income change? How does health care change? How do taxes change? Why do I need a will? Why do I need a trust? What do I have to protect myself against? There's so much to talk about. Let's start the conversation. We do it at no cost or no obligation at Secure Financial Management. Give the team a call and let's get all your concerns out there. And there probably is some things out there that you don't know about, you don't have any idea about, but because we go through retirement every day and you're going to do it once, you take advantage of that. And let's sit down and talk through it. Here's the numbers that you need to know. 210-985-6200. 210-985-6200, a no-cost, no-obligation meeting. Get it on a calendar. Let's sit down and start the process here. You can also use the website retire210.com, and that'll bring you to Secure Financial Management. You'll see Jay's book there. It's called Wall Street's Game. You can get a copy of that as well. But it's time to start talking about your retirement on a serious basis. If it's coming up not too long from now, let's get some of these ducks in a row, okay? 210-985-6200. And remember to have this podcast delivered straight to your favorite podcast platform by hitting like, follow, or the subscribe button. Thanks again for listening to Clear Skies Retirement, and we'll see you next time.
Investment advisory services offered through investment advisory representatives at Secure Financial Management, a registered investment advisor. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed are not designed nor intended to be applicable to any person's individual circumstances. It should not be considered as investment advice, nor does it constitute a recommendation that anyone engage in or refrain from a particular course of action. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Secure Financial Management is licensed in your state, please contact their office. Secure Financial Management is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Wholesalers Insurance. Jay Kirkwood, Texas Insurance License number 1421850.